This is JoyNews today. Welcome. The Patriotic constituency treasurer of the ruling NPP, Mark Ofori, has been shot dead. Mr. Ofori was shot in his home at Fijai, a suburb of Sekondi in the western region, by some unknown assailants. The development has thrown the party into a state of shock, grief and mourning, as various social media platforms have been awash with condolences to the NPP and his relatives. Abdul Ganiyu Mohammed, Western Regional Organizer for the NPP, joins us with some details. Mr. Ganiyu, do we know any more about the death of Mr. Ofori? But first, our condolences to you and the NPP on your loss.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. What more do we know about how Mr. Ofori died and the circumstances leading to it?
First of all, let me say a very good afternoon to you and your cherished viewers. This one is very unfortunate. We are speaking about a young man who is very dynamic and very intelligent in a different manner, but not the way we were expecting it. He was part of the party in the constituency, elected as constituency treasurer, and he was part of even a meeting that was organized yesterday, which he was part of. And we all saw him, everyone saw him, and we thought that this morning we'll be meeting again as friends and colleagues, party workers. But it's unfortunate, around 5 a.m. we had a discussion from party people that there's the news that is coming around. Then we did some inquiry to find out what exactly it was. And then finally it was confirmed that our brother has passed on through an unknown assailant who carried, how do they call it, a jack to open up his burglar proof, and then went into the house, straight into his room, and shot him 4 times and get him dead. And currently, as a party, we have sent out condolences to the family, the bereaved family, because he has a wife and 3 children. Not long ago, he organizes his outdooring for one of his last daughters. Then until today, we heard this bad news. The young man, as we all know him, Mark is a very, very good friend of ours, and he has always been sociable. One of the students called a while ago before I got to speak to you. It's unfortunate we have heard this news, and the regional party is preparing itself because we have sent the constituency officer, both the chairman and everybody within the party have gone into the house to see to the family, to console them. The regional party is organizing itself. Tomorrow, by 10 o'clock, we'll go to the family house and speak to the family. Then we'll take it from there. But the police, I'm told, that doing their investigation to arrest whoever that person is. They should be arrested, because there is no way you take someone's life.
Now, Mr. Ganiyu, to that point of the police's investigations, we understand it's one person who entered the home to do this. Have you heard anything about the assailants?
Yes, I'm told it's one person, and a brother of Mark Ofori was in the house. So when he heard out the shot, he came out to fight with the assailant. They struggled, and he was biting him all over the body, because at the time the man has lost, the assailant has lost his gun. The gun fell down from him, and the young man fought him to the letter until he escaped. You know, he was only the person, and I'm told the man is a stout, bold person, and this person was able to overpower the brother and ran away. And currently, the brother was also admitted at the hospital because he received a lot of bites on the body.
Considering how this single assailant entered the compound, because we understand this was a compound where he even had tenants, and he went to the room of of your treasurer. Do you have any reason to believe that this could have been a contract killing or some party-related activity?
Because of the nature of what has happened, a lot of people will conclude on that. But for me, we are waiting for the police to come out clear, because we need not to divert the attention of the police and the investigators. We shall allow them to pick up their own samples and do what is expected of them.
Very well. Very well.
The person.
Very well then. Very well. Thank you very much, Mohammed Abdul Ganiu, for joining us. He is regional organizer for the NPP in the Western region. Now, some residents and travelers who were moving in and out of Nkrofo in the Elembele district, not too far from Secondly Takoradi, where that death occurred, were left stranded as the main road leading to the town was blocked by some angry residents. The 5-kilometer road, which leads to the hometown of Ghana's first president, has been in a deplorable condition for years. Successive governments have given several promises of constructing the road, but according to the dozens of angry residents, none of the promises have been met. Billows of smoke from burning car tires lightened the otherwise dark atmosphere around 3 a.m. Wednesday. Some of the residents spoke to our correspondent.
See, we are very staffed at the roadside. What's going on this morning?
Then there is a demonstration going on for the battle.
So, what are you saying about this demonstration? Is it good or it's not good?
It's long overdue. Yeah, because this road has been here for quite a long time.
So, do you support them?
Why not? If it's for a good cause, why wouldn't I support them? Because we all fly this road. I don't see why the reason why this road has been here for quite a long time now, and they've not been able to fix this road. This road was started before the actual government left office. But how many years now? 3 years down the lane, the road has not been fixed. So I don't fault them. What they are doing is their right. It's going to make the government sit up and fix the road for us. So be it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
What they are there, they are embarking on a peaceful demonstration. The government is not stand up. They are not going to stop what we are doing. So they should inform the government and his cabinet that we need this road. They will not like it. Oh, well, we are finding it. Every American this is somebody almost to me here, my microphone on me, person, me demand, for no fire,
Away from that, let's go to the central region now, where the University of Cape Coast has suspended lectures and quizzes following flooding on campus and other parts of the Cape Coast metropolis. In a statement signed and issued by the Director of Academic Affairs, Jephte Unyame, the university said, "We wish to inform all staff and students of the University of Cape Coast that in view of the massive flooding of parts of the campus arising from the heavy rainfall over the past several hours, lectures and quizzes have been suspended for the day." Further directives will be issued via notices and ATL FM. Now, students and staff are expected to remain safe in their homes and hostels, the statement added. Richard Kojo-Nyako joins me with an update of the situation. Richard, has the flooding subsided?
No, I mean, the floods have not receded at all. As I speak with you, the skies have opened and then it's still raining. People are trapped in their homes. People had to return to their respective homes with their kids. This morning, they couldn't get access to the schools. Their kids were going. Many didn't turn up for work because they couldn't even cross some of the roads that they used on a usual day. Places that have been affected, heavily affected, at Tonkwa, at Elmina, their roads have been taken over by the floods. Their farms have been submerged. If you get to Cape Coast, you get the University of Cape Coast, the roundabout head into the science area. No vehicle could pass through the floods, and students were trapped in their halls as well because they couldn't get access to the other part of the University of Cape Coast, from the University of Cape Coast old site to the science area, that is the new site. In town, actually, we have Adesada, we have Abra, and we have Paid Junction. A lot of the places have been overtaken by the floods. Nadmo has been on the ground since 4 a.m., but they are helpless. It appears they are helpless because they do not have the capacity, the wherewithal to deal with the situation. When I spoke with the Nadmo Regional Director, Joe Donko, he told me that they are now in talks with their national directorate to get them some pumping machine, because apparently they had only one pumping machine and they had to rely on the Ghana National Fire Service to pump the water out of the homes of people and then on the streets as well. And as I speak with you, they have finished touring and they are in talks with the regional minister and the Metropolitan Chief Executive for Cape Coast to deal with the situation. So that is the situation as we speak. It is still raining, and residents fear that should this continue, something untoward might happen in Cape Coast.
So what you were just saying about NADMO and the equipment expected. Now, Joe Donko told you when you were speaking to him live on News Desk that when the equipment comes, they will begin the pumping. Do we know if these equipments have arrived?
They haven't. I mean, the equipment have not arrived because they called for the reinforcement from Accra. And we do not know. I left his office a few minutes ago, and those equipment have not arrived. But in the interim, they relied on the Ghana National Fire Service to do the pumping of the water from the places. As to whatever relief items and other things that they would have to rely on, they are relying on the national outfit again to bring them something. But the situation looks like a crisis situation. It just looks hopeless because people cannot even step out of their homes and they might need food. And the others, we also hear reports outside Cape Coast, Aguna, Nampong, where over 25 communities have also been cut off from the Aguna Swedru area, and NADMO, the district NADMO directorate is in talks with them. So that is the situation in Cape Coast. It's been raining for the past 6 hours. It started from 11 p.m. last night, and then it subsided around 6 a.m., and then it started continuing.
Thank you very much, Richard Kojo-Nyako, for joining us there. Now, the District Chief Executive of the KJB District Assembly, Maxwell Isiedu, has indicated that the NPP government has done a lot in the district to meet the needs of the people. He says upon assumption of office in 2017, the government put interventions in place to make life better for the residents in the district. He says the KJB District Assembly has in the past 3 years spent over 1 million cedis on development projects in that district. Our OT regional correspondent Peter Senu has more in the following report.
At a Meet the Press encounter on Monday, the DC touted the developmental projects implemented by the MPP-led government in the district.
The KJB District Assembly is vigorously pursuing the government flagship programs. Among them include the following: 1 district, 1 factory, and planting for export and rural development. Under the 1 district, 1 factory, and the planting for export and rural development, the Assembly has entered into partnership with Voter Red manufacturing company to establish 34,000 oil palm nursery for distribution to farmers.
In an exclusive interview with JoyNews, the DC bemoans the very low internally generated fund for any meaningful development.
Since 1989, no DC has ever used IGF to establish anything, but during my regime, I've been able to build a market from IGF. All the same, it is not very encouraging, so we are only appealing.
On investment, the DCE says the district is endowed with industrial clay deposit for the manufacture of ceramics and tiles. He's therefore calling on investors and industries to consider exploring this for development. On education, he says he feels bad to see pupils seated on the floor to study or write examination, but says the district is doing its best to address the situation.
Really, it's very bad. I must confess, it's very bad, and so that's why quickly we want to do something about it. And so we are only waiting for Confund to come, so we'll get some money for people to also get this furniture for these various schools.
Ochami Asiedu Echia has this to say on KGB Township roads and development.
In respect of the town roads, is so much important because you can see the district capital, we are lacking roads. All the roads are very, very bad. So we are appealing to the assembly to do something quickly about it. And then secondly, the new developing areas, there are no layouts in KJB. There are no layouts. A lot of people are developing houses all over the outskirts of KJB. In case of any disaster, the agencies responsible cannot get access to take care of the people.
For JoyNews, Peterson, KJB, Akan.
Now, Chief Policy Analyst at the Ghana Institute for Public Policy Options, Dr. Charles Rekurobe, has lashed out at government over its poor communication approach in delivering key economic policy messages to the citizenry. In an interview with JoyNews' MFA Etiamwa Eli ahead of the 4th Kojo Barredo Memorial Lectures scheduled for Thursday, October 31, Dr. Rekurobe said taking delight in throwing macro and micro figures loosely about does not necessarily translate into the well-being of the citizenry.
If you go to many developed countries, they don't trumpet macro numbers. When you go to Trump America, when you go to Boris Britain, when they say the government is doing well, they talk in terms of how many jobs have been created, what's the average income gone up by, what are the opportunities being created, are house prices gone up or down, has the economic cost of living, is it going up or down, are prices in shops going up and down. So translating the so-called macro gains into micro well-being thing, it's a major challenge for many of the countries in the developing countries, because we don't talk the kind of language that even those who introduce these concepts talk. You know, you very hardly hear talk about, yes, they acknowledge these growth numbers, but they measure success in terms of how many jobs have been created. The Americans every month publish the monthly job figures. They publish the monthly growth in the manufacturing sector. They publish the changes in income. They publish the changes in the cost of living. So there's a messaging problem which is being lost and has been lost for a long time. Okay. And that is why we get this mismatch between what people say at the top and what the reality is on the bottom.
So that is to say that government is not communicating effectively.
It's not just this government. It's been like that. If you listen to our annual budget, one of which is coming up now, nobody talks in terms of, you know, when you hear the finance minister, they spend an hour talking about the macro environment in the global world, the macro figures that we expect, you know, very little about how many jobs we expect to create from these measures that we are making. So it's not this government alone. And in fact, the reason why I'm doing this is that The person for whom I have done these lectures in memory of was the first finance minister I saw in my life in Ghana, who felt that his job was to translate the macroeconomy as finance minister to the micro levels in terms of what he was trying to do for working people. So, you know, I don't know if you're old enough to remember, but when he did the budget, first of all, he was the first person to make a departure from the way in which budgets have been presented in this country.
Wading into the controversial implementation of the communication service tax, Dr. Reku Brobe urged government to take a cue from the late finance minister, Kojo Barredu, the first to introduce the levy. According to him, government should be more interested in making the citizenry appreciate the reason they're being taxed, rather than perceiving them as people who hate taxation.
My achievement, but it's to say that whoever puts themselves up to be a public servant, what are they doing, or what they are doing? Is it increasing the public good, the public well-being? You know, so that you know, some people, unfortunately, our society think that when you give handouts, you are doing well. But the same thing that people say, it's better that you teach somebody how to fish so that they can look after themselves. You know, the purpose of societal well-being is to ensure that we are increasing the opportunities for everybody to better themselves. So the state increases the opportunities. The state does not create opportunities for its appointees simply to enrich themselves and have a very good life. The purpose of governance is to increase the common good, the well-being of everybody, the opportunities for people to rise by their own efforts. So that when you take something like free SHS, the fact that people are getting educated, and through education, they are improving their capacity to do better in a world where education matters. It's one very positive way in which the public well-good is being increased.
Now, the Institute for Statistical, Social and Economic Research is questioning the relevance of newly created ministries by the Akufo-Addo administration as the country's public debt soars and domestic revenue shrinks. Speaking at the launch of a report on the state of the Ghanaian economy, Senior Research Fellow at ISE, Dr. Charles Aka, asked government to relook into the establishment of some ministries. For example, the Zongos and Inner City Development Ministry and Business Development Ministries could help in reducing government expenditure. He fears most new ministries are just a drain on public coffers.
Government gain efficiency in spending, and I think it's time for us to have a national discussion about some of the government flagship programs. Given that we don't have the resources, we are missing all the revenue targets, we want to go beyond 8, and we are not able to raise enough tax revenue in this country. We need to discuss free SHS again. We need to discuss the issue of NAPCO, whether that is a sustainable way of creating jobs, and all the people we put there and we are paying them. We need to discuss some of the ministries that we have set up to see whether they still need to exist. What is the Ministry for Inner City and Zongo Development? Is it really relevant? What are they doing? We need to have a discussion about the Ministry of Evaluation. Ministry of Evaluation, what are they evaluating? We need to have a discussion about the Ministry for Regional Reorganization and all the amount of money we are spending there. We need to discuss about the Ministry of Development. What are they developing? Can Ministry of Trade do the work that they are doing? We need to have a discussion about the Ministry of Transport, Railways and Aviation. Do we need to have 3 different ministries, or can one ministry do aviation, transport and railways? And we need to talk about the Ministry of Special Development Initiatives and all the 3 development authorities that have been put there. So no, we need to have a discussion about controlling expenditure and gaining efficiency in our expenditure.
Now, think tank Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, has asked the government to initiate a new concession agreement in the power sector. This follows the termination of the controversial agreement with the Power Distribution Services, PDS, and its aftermath. The U.S. partners in the agreement that brought PDS have pulled the second tranche of the money, some $190 million, which was available to Ghana for successful implementation of the agreement. But ACEP believes the government should go ahead and initiate a new concession agreement outside the MEDA framework and assemble a Tier 2 pension fund managers and life insurance funds to take majority stake in the concession. Now, some 582 communities in 5 regions are to benefit from a $1.3 million electrification project in the country. According to Information Minister Kojo Oponkroma, this is an agreement between the government of Ghana and China International Water and Electrical Corporation and is aimed at reducing poverty in rural areas and improving their socio-economic development. He made this known at the Midweek Meets the Press series by the Information Ministry in Accra. We bring you details of this after the break.